Hey dear, Zimzy here with a wrap-up for new summer book releases that I've read recently and I'm just really excited to talk to you all about. Starting off with a survival thriller called Whalefall by Daniel Kraus, and this one centers around Jay, who is a young man with daddy issues and a lot of emotional baggage. So he decides to go into the Pacific Ocean in the spot where his father died, one, to prove himself, and two, because his father's remains were never found and he wants to find them in order to provide closure for his family. However, in the process of diving and searching, he accidentally gets swallowed by a giant sperm whale. He's in the whale's stomach and he has to MacGyver and figure his way out while he's dealing with a rapidly depleting oxygen tank. I don't know about you, but the premise alone sounded amazing when I first heard of it, and it exceeded my expectations in the best possible way, and it was emotionally deeper than I was expecting even, but I guess apparently in the stomach of a whale is a good place to do some soul searching when your life is on the line, and there's this narrative that goes back and forth between his past and his family life and the current present situation. And yeah, I wasn't expecting to be this emotionally invested in the story, but I was. It was a roller coaster from start to finish. Tonally, I've got to say it reminded me of Andy Weir's work, so The Martian and Project Hail Mary, where you have heart, this dire survival situation, and a character kind of dealing with it as best he can with a little bit of humor. So if you like those kind of stories, I think you'll really like this one. And lastly, I want to say that this book almost veers into cosmic horror territory without even resorting to the supernatural. It's just the sheer awe-inspiring nature of this ginormous animal. In case you don't know, sperm whales are the loudest animal on Earth. Their sound, their sonic boom, can rupture your organs and it stuns squids. So they are just this naturally terrifying animal, and this book really exemplifies that. Okay, next we have a domestic horror book that's a collaboration between Andrew Sullivan and Nick Cutter, and this one is called The Handyman Method. It centers around a man named Trent who's recently unemployed, and he moves into a new home with his young family, and in order to kind of fill the void in his heart and occupy his time, he decides to take up home improvement. So he becomes super invested in this YouTube channel called The Handyman Method, hence the name, and meanwhile, his young son becomes super obsessed with this YouTube kid series, which is basically a parody of Blue's Clues, but for both the son and the father, the videos they're watching become increasingly personal and bizarre and start to blur the lines of reality. As soon as I heard about the premise, I was super excited because it reminded me of the iconic classic unfiction YouTube series called Alan Tutorial, which I'll probably link in this video, and it also reminded me of a really underrated horror movie called Await Further Instructions, and it sounded meta, provided social commentary, and sounded super trippy and so up my alley, and some parts I really loved and others didn't work for me. What really grated on me was being inside the main character Trent's head. He is supposed to be misogynistic and this macho man, and I get it, it's satire, it's a comedy. However, how this story is set up, he is so insufferable and annoying that I want bad things to happen to him. I'm a sadist here. I want him to suffer. But with the narrative choice of the ending, I feel like, without getting into spoilers, what the authors decided required the readers to root for the characters when I hate them. I was in it more for the absurdity, the train wreck of the situation, and I will say it is very trippy. It is bonkers, it is bananas, it goes off the wall, and I was enjoying how weird and nightmarish and dreamlike it was, so I love that. That's what it did well. The characters, not so much. Okay, next I want to talk about another book which I was hoping would be bonkers and bananas and off the walls and all that. Based on this trippy cover, I'm talking about Maeve Fly by CJ Leede, but this one was disappointing and did not deliver that for me. And it centers around Maeve, who is Elsa at a Disney theme park. However, she has two earth-shattering events in her life that change everything for her. One, her beloved grandmother is terminally ill and dying, and two, her best friend is going to move away to pursue acting, and this kind of destabilizes her and makes her decide to pick up the hobby of unaliving people. The story started off so strong to me. There's like this really fantastic opening monologue where she's like, "This is my story," and I was like, "Yeah, you go, Maeve." And then it kind of unravels from there because it's not really her story. It's her referencing a bunch of other serial killer books. Like, she is obsessed with Patrick Bateman and wants to imitate him. She wants to emulate him. And I'm like, honey, Patrick Bateman is a loser. That book is satire. It's making fun of him. And I want to specify, she's imitating the book version of Patrick Bateman, which is on a whole nother level. It is disturbing. That book is really messed up compared to the movie. I'm warning you. And this is a minor spoiler here, but she decides to reenact the rat scene from American Psycho. And in case you don't know about it, it's where Patrick Bateman decides to trap a rat in someone's orifice, which does not go well for them. But at this point, I would really just rather read American Psycho than someone regurgitate it. For me, I wish the story had focused instead on Maeve's relationship and codependency with her grandmother, instead of relying so heavily on other authors' works. And last but not least, we have House of Roots and Ruin by Erin Craig, and this one is a spin-off / sequel to House of Salt and Sorrows. It can technically be read as a standalone and it makes sense by itself, but you will get some spoilers for the first book if you just go in for the second one. So bear that in mind. The story centers around a minor character from the first book, and that is the youngest sister, Verity. She is a talented painter, and she's also the last of her siblings to spread her wings. So when she receives an invitation from a duchess from the Bloem estate to paint her son, she jumps at the opportunity and goes to the Bloem estate, where at first she's really excited, but then things start feeling fishy and she feels like dark secrets lie in the Bloem's garden. And this book is a fantastically creepy gothic fantasy that ticks off so many tropes and boxes for me. Like, it's got a mad scientist, it's got nonsensical architecture because at the Bloem estate they had to create like special like a steam powered elevator for their son because he's in a wheelchair, and it uses like really unique steampunk technology, so there's that cool element there. And it also veers into cosmic horror territory. I don't want to give too much away, but I was like, this is a Bloodborne certified moment. So I really enjoyed how horrifying it was. And while the atmosphere and suspense is fantastic in this book, I did not like the romance between Alex and Verity. It felt very unrealistic, and there is no chemistry, no tension. It felt very insta-lovey, and quickly, like, Alex goes from this interesting philosophical character to just, like, mooning over Verity and saying, I love you, I can't live without you, even though I have lived my entire life without you up to this point. So that I did not care for. All the rest really, really worked for me. Alright, that's a wrap. That's all I have to say about those books. If you've read any of them, let me know how you felt about them down below. And if you've read any interesting books lately, let me know down in the comments as well. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time. See ya!